Welcome to Stranger Connections, where I celebrate wonderfully weird people and quirky stories. I'm your curious beast and host, Lisa David Olson, the practically world famous business humorist, interactive speaker, speaker trainer, and connection queen. Reach out if you want me to help reignite your team or event. Let's jump right in and learn some new things about my brand new bestie, Hannah E. Scott. And she is a trauma informed coach and speaker. And we will tell you more about her website, lifecoachhannah.com, real soon. But first of all, welcome, Hannah. Thanks for being on Stranger Connections.
Hey, hey, I am excited to get to some weird stories to keep everyone entertained today because my life is full of surprises and twists and turns.
Love it. And that's why you're here on this weirdo show. So you are described as an unshakable fighter for the underdog. And I like that because the underdogs need you. And that's me. What makes you a fighter for the underdog?
I am just a lover of people, and honestly, I'm an underdog myself, so I think that I just connect with people, but I mean, I'm just that kind of person that I can walk into a room and it doesn't matter whether you're homeless or you're a billionaire to me, at the end of the day, you're a human. But there's so many people out there that are underdogs who don't have that mindset, who feel like they can't accomplish so many things in life because of it, and I'm here to tell you that that's BS.
I like that a lot. I feel like that's the way I raised my kids too. And I know that you are a mom of three so far. You're gonna raise it up to give your kids 23 siblings like you have.
Oh, Lord, no. No. I no, after I had 1, I thought to myself, "You know what? 1 kid is cool. That's fine. 1 is hard enough, and I'm good." And then we kept going, but yeah, 4 is definitely my absolute max.
And you're on your way to that, aren't you?
I am. I'm currently pregnant and popping.
Oh my gosh, you are so adorable. And you share the cutest photos as well. So I'm really glad to meet you in person because I just had to tell you that sort of in person, in cyber person. So 23 siblings. Do you know all their names? I want to hear that.
Oh, yeah, I know all my names. I mean, how fast do you want me to repeat them? Yes, I know
Go girl,
everybody's
go.
name. Oh, no, I'm actually going to leave it blank just because there's parts of my story that are a little, you know, it gets weird. So at this point, we'll just leave it at 23 siblings.
Oh my gosh. So how does that work for a family? How if one wanted to have 23 siblings, how would they go about this?
I'm not sure how they would go about it. It's not something that I recommend, but it is my life story. So my mom, she ended up having 9 biologically, and the rest were adopted.
That's a lot. So I'm picturing big farmhouse or how do you end up even the shoes at my door, and I've only got 5 shared sons. So the shoes at the door, like, oh my go/how do you get
Yeah,
around that?
so I grew up in actually it was kind of like a farmhouse. We had a giant 7/8 bedroom house with 3 bathrooms and 15 acres of land with like a basketball field and horses and a massive garden and woods. It was really beautiful, and I mean, we had an army of children to keep it up.
Right. And you say basketball field. I never knew where basketballs came from, but certainly from the ball farmers.
What?
You said you had a
Did I
basketball field.
I did say that, a basketball court. I'm thinking because it was right next to our field. It was
Ah.
a field of basketball, guys. That's how you have a family of 23 and maintain your shoes.
That's that's where balls come from. They're grown by the basketball farmers. I love it. Well, so then what is your favorite part about being in such a ginormous family? And of course, I'm going to ask what's your most unfavorite part of growing up like that?
Yeah, so I think that the story really gets weird because my parents had 6 and then they started adopting when they had about 6 kids. And I mean, I can remember Not understanding as a child because I was about 6 or 7 when they started adopting kids, and I remember being a little girl staring out the window trying to understand this, and I asked my mom, "So, we're adopting these kids?" As she was trying to explain adoption to me, and she's like, "No, I mean, you pay for them because they're coming into your home, but no, we can't you can't tell people that we're buying kids. That's not the thing." So after they kept adopting, it kind of got out of hand because 23 kids is a lot to manage. So, about halfway through my childhood, there actually was a big shift because there was a lot of abuse between the siblings going on because if if you're in the adoptive world or the foster care realm, you'll understand that a lot of kids who are adopted or who are in the foster care system come in with a lot of problems, and if you don't have the right support to manage it, it can go awry. So that's what ended up having a big shift in my story is we had 24 kids, and then when I was about middle school, we all got taken out and put in the foster care system. And then half of us went back with my parents. So it's so interesting because I started out with 24 sibling or 23 siblings. There's 24 of us. And then my parents only had a handful at home. And there was just this big, it was just a big ordeal where I no longer, I guess, associate with all of them. And it's not a bad thing. I actually don't even associate with my parents. But growing up, the coolest part, the most fun part was that we were entertained all the time. All the time. Like there is never my parents, they were very quirky in the fact that we didn't have a lot of TV, like, we were the kids where when we said we were bored, my parents were like, "Go run outside, find something to do," and because there were so many of us, we always found the coolest games to play, and I loved kind of being a little bit of a wild child.
Yeah, so you're no stranger to climbing trees and running and playing football and the whole thing. That's just the way you grew
Oh,
up.
absolutely. I mean, I was a huge tomboy. Like, I remember scrubbing my black feet before I went to bed most nights, trying to get all the dirt off me. It was fun.
And so so you ended up staying in foster care, and you say you don't really have a great like a tight relationship with your folks or anything like that.
Correct. I am estranged from my parents, but I am very close to my foster mom who newly arrived back in my life. It's so weird how it ended up happening because I lost contact with her in my childhood, and then I had a situation in my life where I just remember craving like that mother-daughter relationship, and then lo and behold, my foster mom randomly showed up in my social inbox with this long message, and I was like, "Can I call you?" And I just knew that, like, we had to be together somehow. So I'm very close with my foster mom still.
I love that she just yeah, you manifested that message. That's what I think.
Mhm. Yes.
What would you tell somebody else who's maybe, so here's my thing. I don't believe in the saying, "Oh, but we're family, so we'll let Uncle Frank come over even though we know he's going to ruin the event, but we're family." You and I align with no, family is who you choose. Family is not just because you grew up in the same house doesn't mean you're welcome anytime. So, what would you tell anybody else that thinks, "Oh, but you can't not talk to your parents?"
Yeah. For me, I struggled for a long while with it because my parents, although they have fantastic assets and quite a few of my family members, and I was taught in a Christian household, although it was interesting and weird and confusing, that you have to love somebody no matter what. It doesn't matter if that person was outside of your family, but especially family is family. And that was a very damaging thing, and it hurt many of us in my family, especially the women and the girls. And the way that I see it and will always preach to all of my clients because being a life coach, boundaries is something that I teach. And it's that you can love a person and still not accept their actions in your life. You do not have to tolerate that. And that goes for family members as well. You can still love them, but say, hey, I'm not okay with you treating me this way.
Perfect. Just so much from what I believe as well. And nobody's right or wrong. It's just that it really bothers me when somebody is uncomfortable in their own home and lets people come in because they're family. So I like what you said. You can still love them. You just don't have to let them in.
That's true, yeah, I call it loving them from afar.
Right. It's great. And that brings me to you being a trauma-informed coach and a speaker. And again, the website is lifecoachhannah.com. And it's just, or you're taking your life's work and you're going forward and helping other people because you know what it's like. So you this major, wonderful boundary setterer?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, so, be maybe a little bit of an overcorrection, but yeah, I didn't have boundaries as a kid. We were taught that boundaries were not okay, and I was abused because of it. And I know a lot of young girls, especially in the older generations, were too, because we had to accept the hugs, we had to accept touches that were inappropriate. Now, finally, thank God for the feminist movement, we're able to say, hey, don't put your hands up my skirt. Just because I'm a woman doesn't make that okay. So, yeah, that's where the trauma informed started is my personal journey, and it's grown from there where I have a background in neuroscience and psychology, and I apply that to every coaching aspect that I lead people through.
That's so helpful. And when you're working with this, are you able to do this over Zoom? Are you meeting people in person? Explain kind of how your coaching works.
So I have different programs. I meet over Zoom. I also meet in person. In person is my favorite. So it depends on your story. And I want people to be able to accept their story, no matter how weird, no matter how painful or bizarre it is. Like there is goodness in all of it. But, you have to walk through and find that acceptance and find that peace somewhere along the way. So I do have some larger programs where it is, full on in person intensive somatic work where you're able to walk through your emotions with somebody by your side who's able to show you how to release those in a healthy manner.
And what's the best advice or guidance you can give if somebody else were saying, well, I just can't set a boundary because every time I try, then they do something nice. And then I think, oh, we're starting over. So I let them back in. How do you help people to break that pattern? Because that's so common to just let our guard down and believe the best that we want to see, even though it's a dream world.
Yeah, absolutely. The first part of advice is to realize that boundaries are a good thing. Doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you a mean person, it doesn't mean you don't love people. But if you're not able to accept a boundary as a good, healthy thing that you can stand firmly on, people are going to keep tripping over your little bump when you're like, oh, well, please don't do that. And if you don't speak with authority, if you don't believe that your boundary is important, other people are not going to believe that too. So when it comes to actually coaching you through it, there are words and phrases and ways to talk that show your authority, that show people that you're not messing around, you're not playing. It's just a full stop, period. And with family members, a lot of the times that's where it gets complicated because you kind of love them, but then you kind of want to set the boundary. So that's a whole entire like package of a lot of work that has to be done when it comes to creating those habits because you have to make that kind of lingo, that kind of mindset an everyday part of your life. And if you don't, you're not going to create the habit.
Mm, that's so helpful. I think in my background, the way I would set a boundary is keep with the one sentence. I eventually learned it that keep with the one sentence, no matter what they're
Yeah.
saying. Just keep repeating this one, almost like a mantra, and you stick with it until they almost predict that you're going to say it, and finally the light should go on, or else you just got to shut the whole door.
Yep. Short and sweet. Because if you talk in many sentences or you try to give a paragraph, if it is a manipulative or toxic person, they're going to try to find the hole in your sentence and they're going to try to break your boundary that you set. So that's a fantastic habit to have as a boundary setter.
Yeah, I like that. And you're right. They're going to manipulate. They're going to be looking just for that little crack of sunshine where they can slip in and start over. Yeah. Well, fantastic. I'm glad that you are doing the work you do for the underdogs and that you are a trauma informed coach who walks the walk and is a shining example of coming through on the other side with healthy boundaries. It's very exciting. And people can find you at lifecoachhannah.com. Anything else on that? Any other ways that they should look for you or connect?
No, that is currently where to go. But seriously, if you're the underdog or if you have a weird, quirky life, like, come find me. Let's talk, especially if you come from a weird, quirky family where, like mine, where somehow you had 24 siblings and then no siblings and then six. And then now you have no idea and you're choosing your family as an adult. If you can relate to that, I am your person. We are your people over here.
Oh, that is fantastic. All right, I'm not letting you free until you share with me a dare or prank story, one that you've done or had done to you.
Okay, I think this is perfect with the holidays coming up, and if you listen to this outside of the holidays, it's okay. Just go ahead and save this. So, double dog dare you to steal an ornament off of somebody and then give it back to them the next year and just see what happens. Also, if you want to get super crazy, sign your name. That
So
is
you've done
something that
this?
I may or may not have done this at some point in my childhood traumatic past. Yes, I have done this.
Oh, yes, you have. So tell me how that went. Did it just occurred to you? You're sipping eggnog or what?
Oh, no, it actually was from one of my older sisters who was hilarious, and we just loved pulling pranks. Sometimes in the middle of the night, we would wake up and go and flip people's doormats over upside down just because we thought it was funny, and we didn't have parents that were really watching out for us. So, yeah, one year, my older sister came. We were walking on the street. It was a double dog dare. She took it and ran screaming because we lived in Florida. So mind you, I do have to say that in Florida, people decorate their trees outside with large sparkly ornaments. So it was an outside one. We signed our name and just peacefully put it back the next year. Nothing really happened. We never talked to the person, but I feel like it would be much more fun if you did it with somebody you knew, like your best friend or family. And yeah.
Yes, and we could add to this by taking the ornament. Let's make it describe an ornament, something that's not just a ball. Give me something specific.
Oh gosh, like a star? That's the only one I can come up with.
There you go.
What
Okay,
are the
maybe it's a
other?
star with a face. So they very much know it's their own. So we take it and
Mhm.
then all year we're going to take it to coffee, we're going to take it to lunch, we're going to take it to the movies, we're going to make a whole photo album. So when we return this ornament, it comes with a book of the
It
whole
comes with
year.
its with its journey, everyone.
So that is my double dog dare back to you, Hannah E. Scott. I just gave you back your own.
I know, I was like, I'm already thinking of people in my head who I'm like, "This person it would work with, this person it would
Yes.
work with," and next
Yes.
year, it's gonna be their Christmas present with all of these photos.
Here's me in the star making cookies for you guys. Here's the cookies and your photos. Yes. Okay. We're set. That'll be fun. Oh, I'm honored to have chatted with you, Hannah. And remember that we can only be strangers once. And I invite you to stay weird. You can
I
say
don't think
something.
that I
You
don't
can say I will. Go ahead.
try to unmute my mic here. I think that not being weird is not even a possibility over here. So thank you. I accept the invite.